Thank you all for being here today. This is a regular meeting of the Subcommittee on Oversight.
Victims of violent crimes, all violent crimes, victims of vehicular homicides, and victims of reckless driving, all of them must be listened to, must be heard, and must be respected. Victims must receive justice for the dreadful crimes that took their loved ones away. Perpetrators must be prosecuted to the fullest extent of our laws. Those who attack police officers or those who attack civilians must be prosecuted to the fullest extent of our laws. No one should be granted a blanket pardon without proof of remorse or rehabilitation or restitution to their victims. And once perpetrators have served their sentence here, if they're in our country illegally, they should be removed from our country.
They're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
This is not a partisan problem, and nobody should try to turn it into a partisan problem.
We could very well have done a hearing on the human toll of the Trump MAGA tax cuts on 17 million Americans who got their health care access and food security ripped out from under them so that the wealthiest billionaires in this country could get another tax cut.
So often what we see happen is politicians play games. The reality is that if you are talking about a sanctuary city, then we're talking about city government. We're talking about local control, something that the Republicans used to espouse that they believed in.
This makes it vital to hear from families like yours who have suffered from terrible crimes, to hear about the importance of accountability for those crimes.
This is not just about my family. Destructive sanctuary policies carry real-world consequences. Angel families live with these consequences every day.
Your testimony is an important and powerful reminder that the fundamental responsibility of our federal law enforcement and justice system is to keep the people safe.
If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. These people are crazy.
And to ensure that no one is ever above the law and no one is ever beneath it. The government must stand on the side of victims of crimes, not their perpetrators.
Here's another factual statistic. Entering the United States illegally is considered a criminal offense under federal law. 100% of illegal aliens are criminals.
Failing to arrest and deport the worst of the worst makes all of us less safe.
We often hear that enforcement should only focus on the worst of the worst. My daughter was not harmed by someone that was labeled as the worst of the worst. She was harmed by someone who shouldn't have been in a position to hurt her in the first place.
But so too does allowing federal agents to trample the rights and freedoms of the American people. I want to thank you all again for appearing before us today and hope that we will continue to listen to the voices of everyone whose lives have been so immeasurably altered by the failure of our government.
Failed policies are under Obama and Biden opening the U.S. border to any and everybody, allowing them without vetting them and shipping them off to other parts of the country so that they can vote in that area.
To act and enact meaningful policy changes to keep all of our streets and all of our people safe.
That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens.
I look forward to hearing your testimony today, and I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
All victims of violent crime deserve justice, but this hearing is not about justice. It's entitled "The Human Toll of Sanctuary Policies, Stories from Victims and Families." Or we could have entitled this hearing or had a hearing on the human toll of Trump's stupid war with Iran and how it's making life increasingly unaffordable for people here in America, except for the wealthiest Americans. They can pay whatever the price is.
There's 4 kids that we talked about today, and y'all can't seem to stay on topic for what? An hour of your time? You got to bring up what about?
We could have had a hearing on the human toll of Trump's desperate cover-up of the Epstein files, the toll that has played on the victims of that international child sex abuse ring.
Now, we're talking about these 4 kids. We're talking about angel families. Stay on topic. I don't want to talk about Epstein right now. That's another hearing. I don't want to talk about ICE detainees. That's another hearing. Right now, today, we're talking about sanctuary policies and how they have wrecked our families.
But no, we are here today, and not to cast any aspersions on any of you for testifying, but this is a Steve Miller-approved hearing whose sole aim is to stir up passion and bias and prejudice against immigrants who are people of color.
I don't know if anybody has noticed, but I am not white. I wake up brown every day. I'm not sure what race has to do with any of this.
Now, I mean, we have had mass murder after mass murder in this country perpetrated by all kinds of people. But I just want to talk about those that have been perpetrated by white males.
Y'all come and y'all feed Carissa. You get her up from her bed using a crane. And then you tell me and lecture me what this hearing should be about.
You know, this hearing could be about anything, and I appreciate that they want to get some things on record, but it's not what it's about today. It's about American citizens who parents try to do the right thing. You'll never understand the pain. I pray that you don't understand the pain. And it's about giving a group of people sanctuary from the law. Nobody gets sanctuary from the law. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's hard to believe we're sitting here begging you to obey the laws that y'all made. I mean, there are laws in the books. If we just start with that, we'd be better off if we just start enforcing those. But nobody gets sanctuary from the law.
I don't want to be here. We don't want to be here. But we weren't given a choice. Our children were murdered. So here we are trying to prevent this nightmare from happening to anyone else.
But, you know, you got sandwiched today for the dramatic effect of it. It's all politics. And it's unfortunate what my friends here on the other side of the aisle are perpetrating. Mr. Romanucci, the killing of Miss Good was not
the same as Angel family. She made a choice. She left her home that day, made the choice. Brady and Hallie didn't get a choice. Carissa didn't get a choice. Joshua didn't get a choice. They are living American laws, the American dream. They're trying to make this place better, and they were stolen by somebody who doesn't care.
Was by rogue ICE officers, federal agents, who can't even be sued for, you know, the damage that they have done to your clients' loved ones.
So the lies about that what you're saying are just that, they're lies. You know, they can protest, and as far as Miss Good's family, walk down the street all day long with a protest sign, walk down it all day long. But you can fix it by telling them you can't get in the middle of a law enforcement investigation. I don't care how bad you think the policy is wrong. Don't get in the middle of an investigation of law enforcement. That'd be the first way not to die, you know, if you want a simple protest. Antifa is not peaceful protesting. Those are the lies. You know how to stay, you know how to not get killed by the police. Don't get involved in something they're doing. Makes it's pretty much common sense. But I just, I want it to remain about the kids, American citizens that have been lost.
That's wrong. That's why I've introduced the Bivens Act, which would allow people to bring federal officials into court and sue them against these egregious actions. There are many. Certainly, they equate. I'm not minimizing the tragedy that is before us today with you three women, but
It's lie after lie after lie after lie. None of you care about these people. You don't care about my kid. You don't care about theirs. You don't care about Miss Good. It just suits you.
But the other tragedies at the hands of non-immigrants, just as important. So there's much we can do to bring justice to those who have been aggrieved by tragedy. Congress, this MAGA Republican Congress, is incapable and unwilling to do anything in that regard. And
Stop the nonsense. Stop it. President Trump and Tom Homan and the Border Patrol have stopped the leak of illegal immigration in this country.
And that's unfortunate. I'm going to be the one who yields back.
Thank you to the witnesses for coming here and telling us your stories and your family's stories. Before we get into that, I think it's worth saying that was one of the most disgusting testimonies I have ever heard. To have Hank come in here and lecture angel families about how they shouldn't be here, how we shouldn't be holding this hearing. What the hell is wrong with you guys? The reason they're here is because of open borders that you guys perpetrated for 4 years. And to come in here and to turn this into a MAGA Republican idiotic low IQ lecture is sickening.
So often what we see happen is politicians play games. The reality is that if you are talking about a sanctuary city, then we're talking about city government. We're talking about local control, something that the Republicans used to espouse that they believed in, whether it's the police department, which is the police department and law enforcement that make the decisions about what they do.
Well, actually, Ms. Crockett, according to the Constitution for the United States of America, Article 6, second paragraph, this Constitution and the laws of the United States which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding.
Not on the federal level. That comes from the city level. That comes from whoever the people of that city actually elect to represent them. I believe in local control.
Yeah, it's local governments that are doing this. It's states and it's cities, but they're breaking the law. They're breaking federal law.
We are sitting in Washington, D.C. right now. We are on the federal level. So what I believe in is something that the Republicans used to scream, which is local control. So when we're having a conversation and a hearing about the human toll, the title specifically is the human toll of sanctuary policies, stories from victims and families, my deal is we aren't the ones that decide what cities do.
Yes, there are states' rights, and I believe in the individuality of the states' rights and how our Constitution was set up. It doesn't allow you to break federal law.
So what they've decided to do is they've decided to play on your pain. And that is why I am frustrated. Because hear me when I say this. I have seen people, whether it was an American citizen or not, that killed your child or harmed your child, I believe it's wrong.
One of our members said, well, tragedies happen and it could have been an American citizen who did that. Yeah, and we couldn't help that because they're an American citizen. There was not, how do we know? You don't know when you wake up in the morning what somebody's going to do to you or to your family, your children, whatever. But this was preventable. That's the word here.
To me, it wouldn't have made it any less painful. And I could be wrong again because I don't have any kids.
When Ms. Crockett said she doesn't have children, so she doesn't know, I mean, we're not wired to process the type of tragedy that we're living. We're not. There are no words. I will tell you, it does feel different when an illegal immigrant kills your children than it does an American because it was preventable. It feels different. Not that I know that because I have had an American kill a child, but when something's preventable and your life is ruined from something that's preventable, it does hit a little different than what I would imagine it would feel like just a regular casualty.
But if for some reason it had been a U.S. citizen, that ended up harming or killing your child, the pain would still be there. It would still hurt.
There's no words. Loss is loss. It is very tragic. What we're dealing with when it's preventable, when these people have done something and they weren't asked to leave, it's different. This is preventable. So I think it does hit a little different when our tragedy is preventable.
So the reality is that what we need to do is make sure we are protecting everybody in this country.
It's frustrating to hear the lies after lies after lies, and it's over and over and over. I had hoped that my testimony 10 years ago, I wouldn't have to meet new families like this. Boy, I was so naive. We're still talking about giving sanctuary to people that broke the law. What about the people that stood in line and did it the hard way? That they did it the right way, and they were granted the American dream. So many of them accomplished that. What about those people you're letting in front of those people? How does that make sense in your eyes? How do you sleep at night saying you're going to give sanctuary to people who broke into this country?
The policies that I was writing when I was on the state level are different from the federal level because we have different levels of control. The one thing that we do have control of.
Constitution for the United States of America, Article 4, Section 2. No person held to service or labor in one state under the laws thereof, escaping to another, shall in consequence of any law or regulation therein be discharged from such service or labor, but shall be delivered up on claim of the party to whom such service or labor may be due.
So the reason that my colleagues have brought these things up, and this isn't to say that the harm and the hurt that you are feeling, that you should not be feeling that. It is wrong. Again, even as a criminal defense attorney, I can't tell you how many times I was begging clients to enter pleas. And
I don't know how you sleep at night, but what I do know is you don't care about our kids.
I am here to tell you that it is never right to break any of our laws. So the reason that we have gone down the line and the reason that we brought Mr. Romanucci is because
as we continue to protect people like this and give them free rein in our communities, the innocent lives will continue to be taken. Angel families will continue to multiply. Whose kid has to die before these people will see where we are coming from? Whose family has to be destroyed before they're willing to admit, hey, we have a problem?
to be a sanctuary city doesn't necessarily mean that you provide sanctuary. It means that you're not going to do the federal government's job.
Do you think this is really helping anyone seek a better life? It is not. This is called being an enabler. If you are unable to live by the laws of this country, you should be removed at the very first offense. Why are we waiting for our children to be murdered? If the woman responsible for murdering our children was deported after the first time she was drinking and driving, we wouldn't be forced to be living this nightmare. To allow someone to continue to be on the road with multiple traffic violations and a history of drinking and driving, not to mention never legally obtaining a driver's license or citizenship, is absolutely recklessness. This entire tragedy was completely preventable, and not just for us, but for her too.
That's what it means. They are local law enforcement. And what it means is that they are not going to sit there and do the job of federal agents.
That is what I'm mad about. If you really cared about this, you would stand up and quit calling for sanctuary city. It makes no sense. And all you're doing is trying to put people that have come into the country illegally before American citizens.
That is what a sanctuary city means. But to be clear, again, and
the lies I want to talk about today are what I'm hearing from Ms. Crockett and Mr. Raskin about. I think you said there's potential terrorists roaming the streets. Those are due to sanctuary city policies. You invited the criminal element, hey, come to our city and we're gonna give you sanctuary. What are you giving them sanctuary from? The law? Who else gets sanctuary from the law? Do I get it? You feel sympathy for me? I'm never gonna be the same. Can I go do what I wanna do and get sanctuary from the law? I can't even understand how you can say you're inviting the criminal element to come to your city. And what you're doing is putting them over the citizens that are the ones that are supposed to be voting for you, although we know illegals vote in the elections.
Gentleman is recognized.
Thank God she won't be back next Congress.
It's nothing against immigrants. And it's not trying to hurt anybody, but they broke the law. And some of them are god-awful. Those statistics that Mr. Good, that everybody's read today, they're real. It's not 3 or 4. It's thousands and millions were let into our country. No country has ever prevailed in all of world history when it just bleeds open like that. So this hearing, more importantly than the politics, liberal, conservative, Republican, Democrat, I just wanted people to hear, and I wish every American, I swear to God, they didn't have to hear us, but I wish they could just hear you. That's why your job is so hard. Because you know what? Let me tell truth be told, yeah, we'll do some news hits. Maybe, Mr. Schmidt will get interviewed, or I'll get interviewed, or Jasmine will get interviewed. But a lot of people aren't going to know what happened here today. They're not. But you have to keep pushing, and you have to keep working. And I want you to know, and I mean this, forget the BS politics. A lot of people love you for what you've done and the courage you've shown. You didn't have to do it. This is a pain coming here, and you relive that pain every single time you do it.
It's raining bullshit tonight.
I am here to tell you that it is never right to break any of our laws.
And I just want to talk about those that have been perpetrated by white males.
If they're in our country illegally, they should be removed from our country.
To be a sanctuary city doesn't necessarily mean that you provide sanctuary. It means that you're not going to do the federal government's job.
Gentleman is recognized.
Thank God she won't be back next Congress, but
It's raining bullshit tonight.
We are very sorry that our country let this happen to you.